The truth can hurt you, or the truth can change you. What will truth do to you? The truth can hurt you.
I'm here to talk to you about the show that I will be hosting, and it's titled Beautiful Mind. Beautiful Mind is set to benefit our mind, our body, our soul, and our spirit. And the mind is part of us that enables us to think, to reason, to feel, and to remember.
Hello there, you're
And our
welcome to
success
your
in life.
reality radio talk show, Beautiful Mind. This is the show where we say no to stigmas, discriminations, and any judgmental attitudes. Our aim is to spread hope to all men through love. This show is to educate, entertain, and to benefit our souls. It is the show that aims to align our thoughts to the way God proposes it to be. Beautiful Mind says we all must see the way God says. So you're welcome on board. Why don't you grab yourself a cup of tea, hot chocolate, water, coffee, whatsoever that makes you feel comfortable. Please sit down and come along with us. And if you're driving, coming back from work, please drive with care whilst you enjoy the show through our radio station, Peace and Joy. Yes, the topic for today is... Okay, I need to tell you, you can remember to connect with us on all our media outlets, on our Facebook page, Beautiful Mind Online, or you can call us here in the studios on 079-603-91983. And you can even tweet us at beauty_mind, or you can give us a message on Instagram, Beautiful Mind Online. Please, we want to hear your views on today's topic. We don't want to do it on our own. And the topic for today is IVF babies, fertility treatments. Is science a conflict with faith? And is waiting a game? These are the questions people are asking. And I have today, in the first time, with me in the studio with me today, for the very first time, Uju. She will be helping us on today's topic. I bet you it is a show you do not want to miss for anything. So please stay tuned, because we will be right back. And I promise you today's show is going to be informative and educative all through. I don't think we can go for any music break because we are running late. Yes, Uju, I would love you to introduce yourself to my viewers and my listeners, for some of them that do not know you.
Okay, my name is Uju Ngolum. I'm a media practitioner. I have experience in public relations, and of course with social media, internet marketing and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm here to enlighten people and, explain to people what IVF is actually about, everything about IVF that I know, having gone through it, and to also encourage those who are willing to go that route as well.
Wow, thank you very much for joining us here in the studios of Peace
you.
and Joy. My name is Adeyinka Adewumi, and we are broadcasting live from Peace and Joy Studios. But this Facebook program is being broadcast by BTV. And I tell you, we are reaching out to all over the world. Yes, like she rightly said, she will be helping us on today's topic. So you do not want to miss it for anything. And if you're just joining us, the topic we will be discussing today is IVF babies and fertility treatment. Is science in conflict with faith, and is waiting a game? You might be wondering why we are treating this topic today. Please listen to this. It is estimated that fertility affects between 8 to 16% of couples in childbearing age. Infertility can be quite painful for couples who desire to have a child, and it can carry a real stigma. And we know, us here on Beautiful Mind, we go against anything that stands for stigma. So a lot of us don't really know or understand what IVF is. Uju, can you please explain in your own simplest, form what IVF is?
Okay, so the term stands for intravitreal fertilization. Essentially, what it means is a man's sperm is being taken out and the woman's egg is taken out and is mixed on a dish. Then, it's taken back and put back inside the woman's womb for fertilization to take place, and it grows. So that is actually the process of, how any woman would get pregnant. So the time it's, how your period will normally be, what days, you're expected to ovulate and stuff, the 14th day, 18th,
Okay.
yeah. So the eggs are taken out about that time, so it actually matches with the normal human cycle.
Wow.
So it's just mimicking the human body, that's all.
Wow. I will put it in the simplest form. IVF is the process of joining a sperm and a egg together outside of a woman's body, then placing the fertilized egg in the woman's womb so that she can become pregnant. Thank you very much for that. So is fertility treatment open to all women of all ages?
Yeah, it's open to women of all ages. Just last week, a woman who is about 47 in this UK got delivered of triplets.
Wow.
Yeah, through IVF. I know her journey, and I've seen people who are 50 and, got pregnant, who might have heard stories of people who are 60. It might not really be common here, but back home in Nigeria, you hear about, a 60-year-old who's just had twins, and stuff like that. Most of them go through IVF, but because they're not bold enough to speak about it, they're afraid of the stigma because people don't believe that, IVF babies are normal. But the truth of the matter is, they're as normal as any other baby. The hospital I used started way back in 1985.
Wow.
So meaning that the first IVF baby is way old now. I think she's probably almost 30 now.
Wow.
So she's married, she's got children of her own as well.
Wow.
So, IVF is just the same thing as natural pregnancy. The difference is artificial. So just, it's just done outside the body.
Artificial, that's the word people are struggling with today. So is pregnancy 100% guarantee for a woman who decides to go for IVF treatment?
Let's
I'm
also
saying if they go for IVF, is it automatic that they will get pregnant straight away?
It's not always automatic. And let's not limit this thing to women. IVF is not for only women.
Really?
There are men who cannot produce sperm. Their sperms are taken out artificially, maybe through surgeries and all that. And they get them to, they would assist them. People who find themselves as, with genetic problems as well, it can be screened out. So when the embryos, have been mixed and all that, they take out, through further screening, they take out embryos that are genetically not great enough for a good pregnancy. So if a couple find themselves in a dilemma where they're both sickle cell carriers, I am AS, so I know what it was for me. When someone says hi and you're like, oh, are you AA or are you AS? So
Genotype, she's talking about
sometimes,
genotype.
if your genotype is not the greatest and you find yourself, in love or something, IVF can also help. So it's not limited to just women.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's an eye-opener, what you've just said now.
Yeah, so back to the 100% thing, it's not exactly 100%, sure, but there are things you need to do to make sure that, you near that 100%. I think Nigeria, we're still doing like 25%.
Wow.
But I did mine in India. I did try in Nigeria and, it didn't work at all.
Okay.
But I had to go all the way to India. They go all the way out.
Okay.
In the UK, it's been regulated. The UK hospitals are not allowed to transfer more than 2 embryos.
Wow.
Depending on your age. If you're less than 40, they put only 1. But the thing about it also is that with the IVF, the more the embryos, the more the chances of implantation. So now others will take the risk, put 4, 5. Then if, they might put 4, 5, then 1 or 2 might implant. I've seen people who they put 4 and 2 would implant. Some they put 4, the whole 4 would implant. There's also something called selective reduction. Now that's also...
You are really into this. Oh my God, you've done your research really well. I like this.
Yeah, I've lived
Seriously.
this. This is something I've lived. I didn't do it just once.
Wow.
And because I've been procrastinating anyway, but I encourage people a lot, people who are waiting. So to some extent, I've got my facts, and stuff like that. But I don't play doctor. And most times,
exactly. We need to clarify.
No, I
that
don't.
She's
I
not
don't.
a doctor.
I'm not a
She's
medical
just
doctor.
talking from experience.
Yeah, I'm just a sufferer, who has overcome. So what I also do is, encourage other people. So I don't play doctor. And what I do is, most times when people come, I'm like, so what's your doctor saying? That's where we take it from first.
From there.
What's the diagnosis? Because people suffer different things.
Yeah.
I suffered something called PCOS.
Hold on. Before you go to what you're suffering from, we're going to get there because we still want our viewers to invite more of their friends, their family, their colleagues. Share this video on your walls so that more people will be able to see. Because today we're not playing anything. We're not just talking from theory, but we are talking from experience. She's a sufferer. I love the way you put it. And she's coming to share her experience with us. So please help us share this video. Now let us talk about the main reason why women go for IVF. Proverbs, I'm a Christian, I believe you most know that by now. Proverbs 13:12 says, hope defers, make the heart sick, but longing fulfilled is a tree of life. How exactly is it like for a woman waiting for a child? You've been in that situation. How is it? How does it feel? Because some people, they want to have empathy, they want to sympathize with them, but they don't really know how they are feeling. But you have been there. How does it feel? Waiting.
Indescribable. You can't describe it.
Wow.
You can't, especially when you long, to carry your baby in your arm, you want to breastfeed the baby, you want to see how your offsprings will look like.
Wow.
There's just so much that goes through the mind of people who are waiting. Because, you see somebody, I remember, in my journey of waiting, there were these friends of mine. I'm sure they were listening. There was Shewa, there was Maureen, and when I was going to get married, Shewa was pregnant, Maureen was pregnant. They were friends from secondary school.
I hope they're okay for you to mention their
names.
Oh,
yeah, and I'm sure they're fine with that. But they couldn't come to my wedding because they were pregnant. And sometimes when I see their kids, I'm like, ooh. I think Shewa's son is probably going to university by now, and Maureen's, so the thing is, most times I'm just, using them as examples to show that sometimes, there are so many feelings that people feel. You see people's children and you're like, oh, if I had a child, when I got
about the same age.
They'll be about the same age. Maybe my own child would have just been a year younger, and stuff like that. There's so much that goes into your mind, and you wish and wish, but you just can't turn back the head.
So you're saying it is indescribable.
It's indescribable.
Wow.
The feeling, the emotions, the love.
Please, if you're watching us this afternoon or you're listening via our radio station and you've been in that situation, please, we would like to hear your views. We want to hear your views. Give us a call here in the studios on 079-603-91983. We want to know, how does it actually feel when you're waiting? Why do we feel inadequate, Uju, and confused when waiting? Desperate God's assurance, because we have a lot of people. Some people are not Christians, some are Muslims, but God has assured us that we're going to have our own children. Is it because we feel it won't honor His word, or is it too slow? Here is one word in Psalm 1139. He gives the barren woman a home, making her the joyous mother of children. Why is it that, do we feel that God cannot answer us? Or do we think that He's so slow?
You see that particular question?
Yeah.
I found myself in that particular dilemma several times.
Really?
Yes, I gave up. I'll come back. I'll give up again. I'll come back. I'll give up again. Because, even down to the point where there were prophecies, I've been in situations where maybe you're in a program and you're being singled out. I don't know if it's voodoo or whatever, but these people don't know me from anywhere.
How can you say it's voodoo?
No, I'm just, but the thing is, they tell you, there was one that said, by this time next year and stuff like that, but they knew my problems, and I'm like, and you're so anxious. I'm so anxious. I'm counting down and nothing is happening. Someone has told you in the next 1 year it's going to happen and it doesn't happen. What do? You give up. I'm not that, holy Christian. I know my pastor would understand. I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. That's the way I describe myself.
That's the way it should be. Really.
I believe in God. I believe in His Son Jesus Christ. But I could be a rebel when it comes to questioning things. So a lot of times I did question God.
So you felt God was slow.
Oh, yeah, I felt He left me. There were times I felt He left me. A lot of my friends on Facebook can attest to that. Is lately that I would say I've really not been. I'm that kind of person that I like to let things out of my mind, Sometimes, I'm just, I think part of what didn't help me is the fact that my husband doesn't live here.
Okay.
So sometimes, it's just all so full in my head that, the only place I can also go to rant is, maybe somewhere like a Facebook, and all that. Yeah, so I did find myself in situations where I felt God was slow. I felt God didn't answer prayers. I felt, it just wasn't working. But, with hindsight now, I would say, in His time, He makes everything beautiful.
Thank you. I love that. I love that closing. Thank you very much. If you're joining us on Facebook, Olakunle Ayenitaju. I hope I said your name right. Kudos for bringing on silent topics such as this one you brought today. Thank you very much, for that. I do really appreciate you. Thank you very much. If you're watching us, I do really appreciate your time. Please help us share this video, because I believe Uju here today will be sharing some passionate things that is not free. You cannot get it anywhere. So please help us share this video. What are some of the things we do around women that are waiting for the fruit of the womb that makes them uncomfortable, Uju? Sometimes we think we're being nice. We think we are there. But to you, that you're wearing the shoe, you're thinking, oh God, I don't need this around me this time around. What are some of the things that people generally do that are wrong? Please, we wanted to say this so that if we are still doing it, we will stop.
There's so many. In this part of the world is a little, milder when you compare it to where we're coming from. Back home, everything is ascribed to evil. Back home in Africa, everything is ascribed to evil, is ascribed to, witchcraft, is ascribed to sorcery. I would say the first thing is allow them be. People I really did want to listen to were people who haven't been on that journey. No matter how courageous you might be, I only wanted to listen to women who have waited as well, and that was, because people also feel, oh, your problem is my problem. We do understand that. That's who we are. We're communal people. We're sociable people.
Yeah.
But you need to give these people some break. You just need to give them some space. If you...
What about in-laws? I wanted to really explore this area. Are some of the in-laws, are they nice?
I would also say, the fact that I moved over here, it calmed a lot of things, but I would say it again, I have one of the best in-laws.
Aww.
My mother-in-law never, I think it was only when she turned 70 that, on the phone when we, she was like, what happened, and stuff like that, but because my husband is her only son.
Wow.
And, being Igbos, the son...
I can understand where she's coming from.
The son is something, that is really, really very, very important. You need to fill up the house and stuff like that. But generally, my in-laws have been fantastic. But I would also tell people that, no matter who it is, be it your in-laws, be it whoever, you are in charge of your journey. You have to be in charge of your journey. If you allow people push you left, right, and center, you might actually do more harm than good to yourself. I'll give you an example. There is a lady, I think she had left when I went back because I had to make about 4 trips to India.
Wow.
And between the third and the fourth one, I got pregnant, but I lost the pregnancy in between. So I missed, seeing that lady. But this lady had several surgeries. She's had so much surgeries that it had affected her womb.
Oh, God.
This is ignorance. So people also need to be mindful. You don't just go and give yourself, because the truth of the matter is that most times waiting women become, specimens on hospital tables. I was at that point. I don't, okay, let me not let that, because I think we have that in the question, but it took a while before I knew what my own problem was. So there are women who weren't so lucky, I mean, I was lucky. I wasn't someone whose body built fibroid early, so I didn't have, fibroid. But imagine there are people who their bodies, react to medicines and all that, and they have fibroid quite, every 2-3 years it grows again. Then they tell you have to take it out and all that,
A lot of pain.
If you allow too many incisions on your womb, it affects, the carriage of the pregnancy. In the end, they now tell you need a surrogate. So people, even if your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, your people are telling you to do this, if it's something that you're not comfortable with, please don't do it. Make sure you do your research. Make sure you think it through. What is the implication? What is this? What is this? Because sometimes it's even life-threatening.
Thank you very much. She's just saying that you should do your research well before you put yourself down there, and don't be pushed by everybody. It's not everybody that comes to you. I know this doctor is this person is doing it. Why don't you try that out? You need to do your research very well. I would say pray about it. And in-laws, we can't overemphasize talking about in-laws. Be nice. Please let them be like Uju said. Please, it's God's time, and God's time is the best time. How can we stay focused on God's word, Uju? When we are in that situation. I understand you said it's difficult, and sometimes you ask questions. But how can we stay focused?
I think
we've got a caller. Please, hold on.
Okay.
Hello, good afternoon, caller. What is your name and where are you calling from, please?
My name is Vale Mosai.
Thank you very much. Can you reduce your gadget that you're watching us from, please?
Yeah, I've just done that.
Thank you very much. Do you have any question for my guest, or you have any comments you want to pass?
Yeah, a few comments, and I think questions might come in in the course of my contribution. First and foremost, I greet you, Sister Wumi. Great job there.
Thank you very much.
Our guest today, I greet you, and honestly, I really, really, really appreciate you. Your openness on these issues, your down to earth and everything. Honestly, you don't know what you have just done to so many people having to pass through this thing. Honestly, God bless you.
Thank you,
Sister Udi. And this is my first time on Beautiful Man anyway, sir. But I apologize. I should have been there. Now, you made a comment. And I agree with you, Obi. You said, in his time. In his time. Honestly, that is just, I could say, you have just summarized the whole thing you wanted to say today. In his time. But at the same time, nobody is comfortable with the idea of waiting. It is a period of despair, a period of despondency, isolation, and everything. In fact, you even push yourself into some darkness that you are not even supposed to go. Where you are not even supposed to go. But at the end of the day, God is faithful.
Yes.
Amen.
If we can just hold them and wait for that time. At the right time, it will happen. Another thing I want to throw in, different cultural realities that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Different cultural, we really have to know that this is very, very important. What holds over there, where we come from in Nigeria, doesn't hold here.
So true.
As a matter of fact, that is where your question today, that is where I can pan it, and that's where I can place it. Is science in conflict with faith and things like that? Honestly, if you ask me, I'll say there is no conflict at all.
No conflict.
Thank you.
There is no conflict. I believe in science, I believe in God.
Thank you.
And I tell you what, He said he's giving us wisdom to subdue. There is a reason God gave them wisdom to
exactly. So true.
And if the Bible says every good thing comes from God, so who are we to now put conflict between IVF and faith? There is no conflict there.
Thank
it's
you.
It's just that, oh, this person is sick and you need an assisted reproduction process.
Yeah.
Oh, the medicine is there, the wisdom is there.
Thank
People
you.
have created it. You have the money to go for it. It doesn't stop anything being a child of God or your faith, whatever. In fact, it will help your faith more.
Thank you.
Because it cuts your waiting time.
Thank you
So,
very much.
you talk about medical awareness.
Yeah.
That is the problem in Nigeria now. Many people don't even know where to go. And besides, we have this poor healthcare system. A lot of people they are dead even before their time.
Yes.
So I think they need more medical investigation to know what is happening before they begin to take certain decisions.
Thank
It
you.
is very, very important.
Thank
and I'll
you.
say this. I have an experience.
Yeah.
I spoke with the doctor about my partner, and I said, oh, I would probably say you should check this woman and let her go through laparoscopy or whatever. The doctor said, no. What if she doesn't need any laparoscopy? No, that she is going to start from the basic test. If the test reveals that she needs it, will go ahead. But if the test says no, then he doesn't go to do it.
Thank
That
you.
is the man who knows his job.
Yes.
There's some people don't even know. Before you say anything, even the women are ready to go and as long as they do it and are happy.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Thank you very much today, Bale Mosside, for calling us, for being our first caller on the show today. You are entitled. We're giving you a book by Adebayo Awotedu, and the title of that book is A Journey to the Porter's Wheel. Thank you very much for being our first caller today. Thank you. Bye for now. Uju, thank you very much, caller. I know.
Yeah, there was that question. What was it again?
I think he talked about the conflict, the cultural conflict.
No, there was a question you were asking before the call came
how
in.
to stay on God's, to focus on God.
Yes, because I didn't want us to lose that particular question. The Bible says faith without work is useless. Don't stay waiting without doing anything about it. You have to consistently do something. Even when you're trying to do something about it, don't be gullible. That's all I'll say. For a while, when I was waiting, that was all I was thinking of. I didn't think about anything else. It's a sacrifice, it's a phase. I didn't care about anything, So sometimes you might just need to push every other thing aside and just focus on that. If you're not able to do that, because, it might take some time, it might take some time off work and all that. Now, back to the bit where you said, is it successful? Is it 100%? There are some things people need to do
as well
to also help in being successful. One of it is, if you're going for IVF, they tell you in the US, they tell you in the UK to work. But they will tell you in India, stay off work. See, even in NHS, most of the doctors there are Indians. Let's forget it. Their success rate is 70 to 80%.
Wow.
There are things you need to do. What you eat. I know when I tried to do go for IVF here, I was told to lose how many kilos and all that. Weight is an issue. But back there, weight is not an issue for them.
Wow.
The woman I said had triplets recently was very, very fat. And she carried her triplets up until 37.5. Do you understand?
Wow.
I was even surprised. I was like, it couldn't happen. Do you understand?
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter to them. But things that matter to them is they have good medications. Then when they do your transplant, your implantation and all that, you need to take out time, try to rest on your back for the first 1 to 2 weeks, because you have your waiting period, which is 2 weeks.
Wow.
It's a lot of money that you don't want to push down the drain. So taking time off work, once you're confirmed, yes, just you could go about your life, but just take life gently. Usually they advise you the first 3 months, just be calm about life and everything, and it would all work out. So it helps the chances to improve.
The caller said you're being transparent, and I do really appreciate that. Thank you very much. You're not just talking theory here. You waited for some time too, didn't you? Could you please share your experience with my viewers and my listeners today so that you can help somebody in similar situation?
Well, I like to say that my journey is a 16 years journey.
Wow.
my first daughter, we waited 8 years, before she came along. And my second child is just about 8 months. So another 8 years. So I prefer to say 16 years, it's a 16 years of waiting, because it's just not something that is, so easy. Yeah, you can.
Not now.
Yeah. So I'd rather say, it's a whole 16 years of waiting, because every child, every pregnancy is different. Even if you waited 2 years, the torture, the trauma, is your story, is your journey. So mine is 16 years, and that is how I decide to, I waited.
You said, what was the problem? Why? The doctors might have told you this is something that is wrong with you that was enabling you to conceive. What was the problem?
Yeah, like I did say, there was a time I almost let it out. So, but because I had the question, so it helps me. I think it took us 7 years even before I knew, because then I was back in Nigeria. So we'll go to some hospitals, some doctors, and they just treat you generically. Whatever they give other people, they just give you. But I think when I was going to try IVF. It did fail anyways. The first one I did try, it did fail. And that was when they said, oh, you had something called PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. So what it means is my own symptom is absence of period.
Absence of period.
Yes,
so you don't.
No, I could go months without period.
Really?
Yes, months, 6 months without a period.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was my own. Some people have, hairs all over their body. Some people is weight, adding of weight. So there are different symptoms, but mine was absence of period, which is actually considered quite chronic, because there's no way you're going to ovulate, with the absence of period and stuff like that. So that was my own. So it took a while, before we did detect that it was PCOS. And when it's PCOS, if it's a chronic type, it's assisted conception you have to go
So
for.
that's the only option you've got?
Yes.
Wow.
So you have options of, there's something called IUI. IUI is a lesser form of IVF. What they do is, that one is more of egg and the sperm, and they try to push it in and all that. They don't do so much like the IVF and all that. So you could try IUI, you could try IVF. There's so many other things that are involved in IVF anyway. Because sometimes they need to go extra miles to help the eggs fertilize. So I won't go into that anyway. But anything to just help you conceive is what is being done. So if you need assisted conception, you have no choice except a miracle happens.
Thank you very much for people joining us. Mommy Sheun Dipolu, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Thank you very much, Adeola. You said kudos, Uju, for speaking out. So many people don't talk about this. Thank you very much, Uju. And thank you very much, Adeshala Elizabeth, for joining us this afternoon. So how did you feel as a person when people refer to your situation, whether knowingly or unknowingly? You did mention somebody in church, prophesying to you. It's not as if you've told them about your situation. How do you feel? Do you feel embarrassed, or how do you feel?
Yeah, it depends on, there are times when you feel embarrassed. There are times, I'll give you an example. Before I had this baby, I lost a set of triplets. And someone who hadn't seen me in a while sees me and said, oh, you're so fat, eh? You're just eating and eating and eating.
God.
Oh, my goodness. And this is someone who is coming from a point of grief. You don't know what the person is being through. That experience never left me. Another one was, someone, I don't know who, but my husband was like, are you sure she's not Ogbanji?
I was gonna ask you that.
There are just so many stupid things that people would say.
Some people say women that can't conceive naturally in life, they might be ogbanje. Probably they've had all the children in the spiritual realm,
in the spirit world. I mean, all those things are about.
I don't know. Rubbish. Please, we want to hear your views, viewers and listeners.
It's an African mindset. You see. One thing I know, I am a very, very strong personality, and I appreciate the fact that I'm married to somebody who, loves me, respects me, and when, he doesn't also take in all that. But, sometimes when it fills your head and you don't know, sometimes it's not like he told me in a bad way, but he's like, can you imagine what somebody said? Most times he won't tell me who, because he knows that I'm a riot, So he might can you imagine somebody said so. I'm like, they are mad. Go and tell them, whoever it is,
Thank you very much for that. We've got a question from Adeshala. She's asking, so there is no chance for someone with PCOS to conceive naturally? She wants to know.
There is. I've seen people who have PCOS. There are people whose own is chronic. For some people, if you're still having periods, there are chances that you might get pregnant. I mean, but for someone like me, I know there's a former colleague, Faith, and she's had 3 powerful boys. She was a PCOS sufferer. We used to rub minds then. That was back then in Nigeria. And, the day she had her baby, I was overjoyed, for her. She had the second one. She had the third one. So yeah, people who have PCOS get pregnant, but it's just that for people who have absence of period, it depends on what their symptoms are. If you're the one who was having hairs and all that, you might be lucky. Some people ovulate maybe once in 2 months, once in 3 months, once in 6 months. If you have periods,
it's just after time.
Yeah, but if you don't have periods, ironically, since I had my baby, as I had this baby, the period has been regular.
Wow.
So yeah, if you don't have periods, it might be harder. But for people who have periods, the chances are higher if you're able to identify when your ovulation might be.
Thank you. I hope she was able to answer your question, Adeshala. Ola Unif says, sorry, I disagree with you on that. We really want to understand what you mean by that. We don't know which part. Please let us understand so that we'll be able to answer them. Uche, science tends to have explanation for everything. Did doctors tell you what it was and the implications of your health? Did they tell you the implications of it?
Yeah. I mean, the fact that it has to be assisted. Also, there's something about PCOS sufferers as well. They tend to be diabetic quite early.
Wow.
Yeah, and chances of womb cancer and all that. So my doctor ruled out that's who doctors are. They tell you whatever all the negatives are, so that you can work, in favor of it, and try to improve your chances the higher. So I remember I had to get on a medication called metformin. That was the first time I heard about it. I wasn't diabetic then, but I had to be on metformin. Metformin is a diabetic prescription, but it's something that PCOS sufferers, are given to help their periods and stuff like that. Yeah. So,
thank you. She went further to say, so PCOS with almost no periods and no ovulation, so can they conceive? She's asking.
Yeah, they're the ones that have, very slim chances. Those who have periods. Because, you don't have period, except if it's a miracle.
Almost no period and no ovulation.
Yeah, how do you want to ovulate if you don't have a period? Except for miraculous people. I'm talking from experience and what my doctors have said. I'm not saying that people with PCOS don't get pregnant. No, there are people who get pregnant with PCOS.
Yeah.
But most people who will probably not get pregnant are those who are absence of period sufferers. Like I said, there are different symptoms. So it depends on your symptom. And like I always say, you always have to listen to your doctor. What I do is more of support. I don't do, it's not treatment.
Yeah.
I research, I read about it. Then,
and if you want any more clarification, you can get in touch with her privately after the show. Right, Uju, you fell in love and got married. Was he aware of this condition that you mentioned before the wedding?
No, we didn't even know. Like I said, it took like, it took like 7 years or so. I don't know.
But you knew you were not having your period before you got
No,
married.
I wasn't born with that. It was
right.
Yeah, I mean, as a teenager, I had periods.
Okay.
But, all of a sudden, I realized it started reducing, and
you didn't see it as an issue to discuss with him.
I mean, period can come with stress, so when you don't have it, and sometimes, especially when you're married and it looks like it's lost, like we always say, I've lost my period. If it's lost, you think, oh, you're pregnant and all that. Then one other way of treating it, before I was placed on metformin, one other option they were always giving me was to put me on birth control pills. I mean, that's a negation. It negates what I want. I'm married, and you want to put me on birth control pills.
God.
So it wouldn't work, So then I was always like, I mean, how do you want me to get pregnant when I have to be on birth control pills? But you see, that is where assisted conception comes in, because now I had to get on birth control pills for my period to be regulated. Then, after my period was being mimicked, they knew where, they had to know when to take out the eggs and all that. But if you place me on just birth control pills, nothing happened. So at some point I did try. I think there were times I took birth control pills for about 6 months, to see if it will regulate, and, it didn't. Yeah, so... Yeah, it just didn't work for me.
Thank you. Adeshola says birth control pill is a no. Please listen to that advice and see your doctor as well. She's saying it's a no. Thank you very much.
Is she a doctor?
You know what? I want you to talk about your husband. Did you tell him about all this condition after the doctor told you, or you went together?
Oh, for most of the diagnoses, we always go together. Most very good gynecologists will not see just one person.
How did he handle it? Because we have men listening or watching us this afternoon, and their wife might be going through this. I want you to help us share how your husband handled that situation. Because some men, especially our African men, I'm sorry, I'm not being judgmental, they would have said, no, I'm not into this. I just want a second wife. How did he manage it?
For anyone who knows my husband, I mean, people will always tell you, I'm married to an angel. I think that's the best way to describe him. He was the most supportive person. He's my support system. Not for once. If there's anyone who is hot-headed, who snaps, it's me. I'm the fire, he's the water.
Wow.
He's extremely supportive. He did support all through. We had to go to India. He came to India. There were so many women who, their husbands would be told, okay, so at some point, he wasn't supposed to come back again. We went the first time after leaving his specimens and all that, because he had to do some tests as well. Okay. But by the time we did, I think he left about 3 specimens. We did the first one, it didn't work. We did the second one as a backup. I had only 1 left, and they said, no, we're not going to risk it with 1. Your husband has to come back again.
Wow.
He took, he left everything again and came back.
Wow.
So I mean, that tells you the kind of selfless person he is,
Sir, if you're watching us this afternoon, or you're going to see this video again, I'm hailing you. Thank you very much, because I know it's not everybody that can handle it. And again, some men can handle miscarriage. You said you did a first one and you had a miscarriage. How was that period? Because some people might just be going through that now. So I really wanted to tell them how it was and how you were able to come out of it.
It's a phase. You would always glide through. There's nothing you can do. If you like, even if you pull your head, even if you try to do anything, it won't change anything. It has happened. Just look ahead and put your resources together again. I know it can be daunting. IVF is traumatic. It drains you emotionally. It drains you physically. It drains you psychologically. It drains you, most importantly, financially.
Wow.
I know what it is, what it takes to go through several cycles of IVF. But don't give up. Don't give up. The most important thing is when you carry that baby, the joy is just enough.
It wipes everything away.
We Nigerians, we can be very materialistic. Forget all this property, you know, forget everything. Just live in that moment. Focus everything. Just do it. Just do it. I mean, I was this kind of person that, you know, in my waiting days and all that, somebody, oh, there's a woman, she waited for 25 years. I say, it's not my portion. I tell them, I cannot wait that long. What time do I have to play with my children? See, some people are okay with it. But I'm not. People are different.
Yes.
Oh, somebody waited 35 years. I'm like, oh, I wouldn't want to be, you know, waiting that long. Because of that, I cut off so much, stopped work. You know, I was almost a pauper.
Wow.
I was, you know, I lost so much, you know, just to have what I wanted.
Wow.
So sometimes, you know, you might just need to shed, you know, some weight and, you know, just focus. People are different. If you think you can handle it, you know, working and all that, you know, but, you know, sometimes children and wealth, they don't come together. Let's be realistic.
Thank you.
It happened to me. Last year when I was pregnant for my daughter, we were almost like church rats. There was nothing coming. My husband is a contractor. He's a builder. Back home in Nigeria, everything closed. You know, I think it was Ehino. Yes, Sister Ehino. I did tell her that. She's like, oh, she's never heard it. But, you know, I was like, oh, I think because I lived in Lagos, I grew up with the Yorubas. But I know the Yorubas say that when you're pregnant, money doesn't come. But as soon as we had my daughter, as soon as we had her, you know, it happened with my first daughter as well. As soon as she came, a very massive contract came. You know, that was when we relocated. As soon as she also came, you know, so sometimes, you know, when the children come, every other thing will fall in place.
Thank you. I do really appreciate you, you know, saying that. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry to hear about what you went through. But how long did you have to wait for before you finally became pregnant?
After how do you mean?
After the first pregnancy, you said you waited for 8 years. So how long did you have to wait for to get another one?
Oh, in between, I had a lot of losses.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, there were so many losses. I'm a regular feature in St. Mary's, Manchester. Yeah, okay. So before I went full-blown IVF again, I tried injectables. So injectables is still assisted conception. It's still assisted conception. What they do is the same IVF injections. You know, you're allowed to take it so that your eggs can mature as well. But this time around, the doctor I saw back home in Nigeria, I had to travel back home to Nigeria. And I was taking the injectables and all that. I got pregnant. I think that was in 2013. Yes, that was in 2013. I got pregnant, but I didn't know I was pregnant. Then I flew. You see, there are issues around that as well, but there's been too many stories around people flying and having a miscarriage that have come to the conclusion with my own experience. If the pregnancy is not sustained by progesterone or it's not more than 12 weeks, please don't fly. I was pregnant. I didn't know I was pregnant. I flew. But because I started taking progesterone injection, my tummy was growing. People in my church Jubilee can attest to. A few people, you know, I'd actually sat with the waiting women, with the pregnant women. Yeah, that was in 2012. We had started praying, you know, for the pregnancy, only for me to, you know, scans are not done early here.
I know.
So only for me to go for the scan, and there was a sac there, but no baby.
Oh, God.
You know, so I'd had that one. I had that experience. I had another experience with the IVF. Yeah, I had one failed cycle. Then there was a successful cycle for the triplets.
Wow.
But I think at 19 weeks. Okay, so
triplets.
At 19 weeks, one of my waters broke. Then I lived in St. Mary's for over a month. They tried to see if they could save the other two, but, you know, they couldn't save them. And my doctor did advise that I needed to wait for like 6 months
before you can try
I can try again. So I think I lost that pregnancy it started in February, finally lost in March. So I didn't go back to India up until December.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that was when we were able to raise funds and all that, because a lot of money as well. You know, but the good thing about it, my husband didn't have to go back because the embryos were already there. So my baby
We are going to show you the baby, but not yet.
It's
You need to see this baby.
She was actually mixed in 2015.
Oh my God. Oh my
So
God.
she was in the freezer.
Wow.
For about 2-3 years before
Wow.
I conceived her. So
Wow.
she was she was
you.
mixed in 2015. Then I got pregnant for her January 2017.
Thank you very much. Adeshola Elizabeth is asking some question, but I believe Olakunle Ayetaju has been able to answer her. I hope she answered you very well. She's asking Clomid or metformin, which works better. And metformin is for diabetes control.
No, they're
metformin
two different things.
Is for,
yeah,
I think
Clomid is for the eggs, to help your eggs to mature, and while metformin is actually a diabetic prescription. But for people with PCOS, because they have the tendency to be diabetic, it's like a prerequisite to being diabetic.
Wow.
So the advice to either watch your weight or you get on that. I mean, I'm actually, because I've added so much weight that I'm beginning to think, I might have to get back on my Clomid, to help me, because it helps you to also lose weight.
Okay.
Takes a lot of stress off you, when you have pains and stuff. But I want to speak to my doctor back home first, before I do that.
Thank you very much, UJ, for answering that question. Henry Joseph, it's nice to have you today. He says, I am just mouth open. Oh, the things the Lord did for us, we can only appreciate when others testify. Well done, ma. We bless God in the past. Thank you very much for that, Henry Joseph. Right, UJ, I need to be honest with you. If I found myself in your situation, I would be asking a lot of questions. And I would blame myself. And in fact, I would blame God. Did you do any of this?
Oh yeah, I did. I mean,
why will you blame God? Have you lived a record life, or did you think God was mean to you? God didn't like you. He liked every other person but you.
Yeah, I mean, you see, the thing is, it's not about the kind of life you've lived, but when you try to when the Bible is there and tells you that these are the promises of God, and you've been told that he's flawless, he's a perfect God. You want to believe that when you say your prayers, you do everything. I would give alms. We did a lot of giving.
Wow.
I mean, usually what happens is when you're living in denial, then we lived in denial, because when you're being told, you're like, no, God will do it. You will go and sow, we sowed so many things, and in the end, we're still there till we took practical steps. So sometimes, with hindsight, I blame myself that
maybe you should have done it earlier than that.
I was supposed to have actually gone to India many, many years ago, but I didn't know anyone who had been there. Just that I heard that their doctors were quite good and all that. But Indian films, we watched a lot of them.
We've got another caller.
I have a phobia for snakes.
Hello, caller. What is your name and where are you calling from, please?
Good evening again, Balemosai.
Oh, thank you very much for calling us again. Do you have another question for my guest?
I think I just want to make a contribution to
okay, sir.
The comment. I think at this point, this is where the issue of right believing comes in. Right believing in the sense that know who you are, know in Christ, and then know the promises God has given to you.
Yeah.
You see, where we come from is that there is the problem of the same different cultural realities we are talking about. People that will call you a banger because you didn't have child at the early time, they're the same people that will be saying, oh, maybe she's been wayward when she was young, she was in university, she's done dozens of abortions and everything. But it is a lie. It is a lie. Some people were born with these things, but it would not come up until they are at certain age, before they will start to witness it, before the changes in their hormones and the body will start we start to tell them that, look, you need to go for medical, whatever. So it's a matter of right believing.
Yeah.
Whoever is passing through this situation now, don't let people talk you down.
Exactly.
Or hold you prisoner to your past. So now people will say, oh, but we see people who are prostitutes out there, they will still get married and they will have children and everything.
In fact, they're the ones that have children.
I'm a born again Christian. I pay my tithe, I pay my this. Why is this happening to you? It is a matter of right believing. Don't let anybody, manipulate you or make you to think that, oh, because you didn't do this for God, because you didn't pay tithe, because you didn't do that, that is why this will happen to you. It is not in the Bible.
Thank you.
Individually, what we carry at our cost is right there standing with us.
Some
people will carry their own in their marriage.
Yeah.
Some will have delay in education. Some it will be employment.
Yes.
In fact, some it will be these children that we're talking about. They will get married early, but before they will have children, it will take time.
It will take
Meanwhile,
time.
some people will have children before they even collect that ring. Are you saying they offend God? So it's a matter of right believing. You see, this kind of gospel African pastors, whatever, preach. They have to go and check their heads.
Thank you.
So many things that are not in the Bible, they are using it to create fear. So,
Thank
don't
you.
let us divert anyway.
Thank you.
Faith and science goes together.
Thank you.
There's nothing wrong in going for ideas.
Thank you very much for calling us. Thank you. God bless.
Just to add to that faith and science thing, because I mean, like I did say, I'm very practical. The same pastors who think that private jet is, it's science. It's not technology. Science and technology is what's being used for private jet. So that same engineer who had to go to school to make your private jet, your Porsche, your beautiful cars, the phones and all that, is the same way a doctor goes to school to learn how to improve medicals. So it's as simple as that. There is no conflict. God has given us brain. It's like the people, the what's it of the talent, what's it called again, of the talent in the Bible, where God gave people the parable of the talent, where God gave people talent and people went to go and bury it. Africa buried their own, but other people have used their own to improve it. If you believe that science, this is contrary to God's whatever, you are just as bad as the man who is burying his talent, because God has given us the brain, the wisdom to use and improve our life, our livelihood, and everything around us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Jesus said in Matthew 21:22, if you believe, you will receive whatsoever you ask in prayer. Does it mean that Christians that seeks help from doctors for babies does not believe and they are impatient?
No, it doesn't mean they don't believe. I'll go back to faith without work. It's useless.
It's useless.
You have faith that one day God will answer your prayers. But now you have a diagnosis that needs to be helped. You have a diagnosis that needs to be assisted. If you go to the hospital and they tell you that you have your appendicitis is rupturing, is it not God that put the appendix there? You have that as part of your body. But for some reasons, for some natural reasons, it would swell or whatever and we want to rupture. If it ruptures, I mean, I've had to go through that, and I've had a family member who had a near rupture appendicitis. It's life-threatening. So now, are we saying that God is not perfect? He doesn't know what he did by putting that there? So do we now say that people should die because that doctors will not get there and take that out? It's just a way of assisting people. People cannot have babies on their own due to health reasons. The same way you would drink paracetamol for headache, malaria or whatever, is the same way you need assisted conception to get pregnant.
Thank you.
That is it.
Thank you. Thank you, Benson, for joining us this afternoon. Benson is saying, not all Africans, please. I don't know what you said, but they're saying...
because we bury our talent.
Because we buried our talent. Okay, thank you, Benson. I hope she's been able to clarify
Okay,
that.
sorry about that, but
Olakule is saying, please, beautiful mind, when are you bringing this woman again? People want you to come again on the show. We will try and bring her again. Thank you, Rachel, for joining us this afternoon. Wumi Adewumi, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. We do really appreciate. Right, Uju, I have heard so many believers say these things. You will realize I'm going back to believers, and it is because of what they believe. Believers say this statement: prayers are not yet to be answered because one hasn't been faithful with God, or you haven't fasted enough, or you haven't prayed enough for your miracle, or delay is as a result of sins, either from your husband or from wife. Do you agree with any of these statements? And what advice will you give to Christians that have this kind of belief?
I do not agree with that. If people say that, are we saying that somebody like Pastor Kumuyi, whose wife died, sinned? That's why his wife died. See, reproach would always come. It's part of a Christian's life. It is the test that would go through for our testimony to be complete.
Wow.
It has to just happen. If you have a perfect life, it's a highway to hell. You can never have a perfect life. Somebody like Pastor.
Somebody cannot have a perfect life.
No, Pastor Deboye met God when he was. There was this movie that they did then. It was Dove Media then about his life. He met God when his son was ill. See, it's when people tell you their testimonies, and that's why they will tell you that you don't know the story behind the glory. For every glory people attain, there is a story. There is a situation that took that person to that place. We all have a story to tell. You see, for me, I'm so many things to so many people. I'm a very, very creative mind. I do so many things, but I'm suddenly realizing that it looks like, oh, this fertility journey is actually, what I'm being called to talk about. Because
that's your ministry.
I know that I've always had that, but I've just been this kind of person that, I'll just put it there. I procrastinate a lot. But, we all have a story.
That's it.
No life is perfect. No life is perfect. If people tell you what they go through, a designer, what's that her name, just killed herself yesterday.
Yeah,
she had a beautiful life. New York is beautiful. See New York, see if you see New York is, the light and everything there. But somebody who lives in New York, do you know how much the rent is? Her life is beautiful. Yes, she didn't find joy. She didn't have happiness. So sometimes you can have the money and the joy won't be there. So there can never be a perfect life.
Thank you. Olakule is asking, what was the sin of Abraham when it took him so long for Isaac to come? If you have any of our viewers or listeners that want to answer that, please answer that for Rod. Many African pastors will proclaim all of us guilty and forget grace. Thank you very much for that. Right, Uju, I really want you to help us on this. Why is it that some people cannot go for an adoption? Why must they go through IVF? Why can't they bless other lives by adopting? And some people mention surrogacy. I think you mentioned that as well. What are the difference, and why do people prefer to go for IVF?
Number one, there is that people are different. There are different processes to having children. This is what I tell people. Adoption is one of them. Surrogacy is one of them. IVF, with the IVF, it's a lot of stress. It's just that there's something biologically attached.
Okay.
But a child is a child. I tell people, if you can adopt, do that. But adoption is also a very stressful process.
Is that?
Yes. It's not as straight as people would think. Back home, yes, we had the issue of baby factory and all that, Here we know how it is. In the UK, adoption is not as total as what it would be like back home. It's more like fostering. The child knows everything about where they're coming from. But back home, some people just dump their babies. There are orphanages and stuff like that. But they're also expensive. Sometimes there's a very long waiting list. Sometimes you find people waiting 2-3 years. IVF, you've already, if you try an IVF and you're successful, you've already had a child. So it's not, children are not things you go off the shelf to get. And even if you go for adoption, I know a lady whose ministry started just because she went to adopt a baby. And afterwards, she found out that the baby has cerebral palsy. And that was how she started her charity on cerebral palsy.
Wow.
They told her, return the baby. And she was like, it's not a supermarket. Why would I go and return this child? And, she was led to start a ministry because of that child. She's been all over the world just because of that particular child. So it's a process. None of them are easy. Child, infertility, waiting is a very, very long process that needs the right mindset, the right people around, the right everything just to make it through. So none is the best. People might say, I've seen people who have biological children who are as useless. There are people whose adopted children are better than biological.
Yeah.
In that situation, I'm sure that particular person whose children have been adopted are actually better. The thing is that some people say adopted children are actually more comfortable because it's only people who have money that actually go to get them. Do you understand?
Thank you.
Whatever stigma, don't even allow people give you stigma. Oh, the child is adopted, the child is surrogate. And even in the case of surrogacy, if for any reason they tell you surrogacy, see, it's not as bad as people make it look. I was ignorant as well. But you see, with surrogacy, you might, what it means is that they use, they get the woman's womb, egg and the man's sperm, and there is somebody else who carries the child for the person. If you have a situation where you don't produce eggs, you can have donors. There are situations, to help in every way. If, donor also is also something that people want to also shy away from, but if you don't start early, by the time you're like, these days, I think they've increased it to like 40, 45. Some people can still produce good eggs, but some people by 35, they can't produce good eggs again. There are some tests people might need to do. There is the FHS, the follicle stimulating hormone test. You might need to do that. There is also another test called anti-Mullerian hormone test. That test would help you check your egg reserves. When a girl child is born, on the day she's born with all the eggs she needs to have in her lifetime. So as she is growing, by the time she's teenage, she's lost so much of it. By the time she's menstruating every month, she's losing the eggs. You don't replenish your eggs. So by the time the person gets to like 30, 40, the egg reserve has actually really gone down. So there are tests that need to be conducted, to be able to ascertain this. And if they do this test and the egg reserve is not so great, don't panic. You can have donors. Yes, a donor would give you an egg. The children might have a few features from the donor, but you carry that baby with your own blood as well. So you give the baby your blood.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Golden Mount Restaurant, for joining us this evening. Thank you, Olakile, again. Thank you, Samson Momo. Thank you. He's saying hello. Right. Hello. Should a Christian who tried IVF and other fertility treatment feel he or she has let God down?
No, it's still back to, to what I did say about the parable of the talent. God is giving us the talent, that we should make good use of it. And doctors have been empowered by God. Doctors were given the brain by God. God gave doctors the revelation to be able to improve on science, be able to help people.
Thank you. This is the period that a lot of people are struggling with. This question I'm about to ask. Are IVF babies gift from God or from science? Are they designer babies or they are gift from God?
Every child is a gift from God. IVF, natural conception, the most important thing is the specimens come from a human being. It comes from humans, and humans are used to make fellow humans. There's nothing about IVF that is strange. It's just simple mimicking the human cycle, a woman's cycle. Day 1, day 2, they check it. Day 14, they check it. They take out the eggs, and that is all. So there's not like science or whatever. The same way your period is natural, it's just the same way that science has been able to make it,
Thank you, Agape, for joining us this afternoon. Agape is saying IVF babies are from God. Thank you very much for that. Can it be the will of God, for people to be childless in this life, Uje? Or must we all have babies? Must we have children? Or children that are biological ours?
Every child, I always say, every child is a child. Biologically, adopted, surrogate, donor, whichever, every child is a child. there are people who don't even want to have children. I know people who never got married, who never had children, and they died like that, and they're fine with it. It's what you want. If you want to have children, all well and good. If you want to have your own biological children, all well and good. But all you just need to know is that the time clock sometimes works against humans. So if you are somebody who is desperate to have your own biological children with your own eggs, you need to know that there is a time when your eggs might not be there anymore. But of course, if you must have children and carry with your own womb, yes, you can.
Thank you. We've got this sentence by somebody. He said, all I want is a baby boy. Want to love and nurture, want to raise and hold, but everything else has failed. All the treatments and medicines have failed to make that dream a reality. Then the doctors came in with their advice. We think IVF is your best option for getting pregnant and having a child. But I am a Christian, I said. So beautiful mind, I am so happy that you're treating this topic. If I go for it, am I trying to fast forward the hand of God?
No, you're not trying to fast forward the hand of God. You are just living your life as it should be. If you think science or, if you think IVF babies are against God, like I said, that is what doctors are made for. Doctors study to make our health better. Engineers study to give us gadgets that will make our lives better. If you cannot carry an IVF baby, then don't drive. Don't get into a car. Be walking up and down. Go and look for camels and horses and be using. Don't enter a plane. Do you understand? It's as simple as that.
Wow.
Science and technology is just to improve our life, to make our lives better. So liken IVF baby to your car, to an aeroplane, to doctors is just medicine and technology. That is just it. If you can have that mindset to see that God gave them talent to use to improve our lives, then you don't have a problem. Except you're saying that God from beginning did not know what he did by creating humans who eventually became doctors.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was brought up a Christian. My wife was not. She went to a public school in New Zealand and was never told IVF was a sin. We are not having any luck trying to conceive, and all the professionals we speak to simply say IVF, IVF, IVF. Our GP, our fertility doctor, and even a psychologist I saw personally to discuss our journey. There is never any mention of IVF being a sin. It is not like a robbery, murderer, infidelity, etc., where no matter who speak to or who read it, including the Bible, it was held wrong. How do I explain to my wife, who has never been told this, not at school, not by our parents, not by any highly educated professionals, that it is wrong? I personally believe something is not right. The fact that God has left this pathway where one can go all the way to produce a life through IVF doesn't mean it is not a sin. Why would God allow this? I think the church needs to revisit IVF and perhaps take part in research. My take, John.
Exactly. It's simple research, it's simple. It's just mimicking the human cycle. Nothing else.
But John is saying it's a sin.
It's not a sin.
That's what John is saying.
It's not a sin at all.
John is saying it's a sin.
It's not a sin at all. It's not a sin. I think maybe, it's not a sin. It's just mimicking the human cycle. There is nothing wrong there. The way you would do, except John, I wish, there was a way we could, contact John. Does John go to the hospital at all? Have you ever had any surgery? Have you ever taken any medication? That is what IVF is. Nothing else. A man and a woman sleep together. The sperm goes in and fertilizes the egg, and it attaches to the womb, and it begins to grow. That is exactly what happened. Do you know that even IVF doctors believe in God? Whenever you go for any IVF treatment, the one I did in Nigeria, they would ask you, are you Christian or Muslim? Whichever one, they put a music for your faith. You know, there is a solemn music there according to your faith. Then they ask you to pray. You know, Nigerians, we are religious. The same way in India, to some extent, they are religious. My doctor was Hindu. She's Hindu. And they get there. Of course, I wasn't understanding what, but it was later I realized that music was their own kind of praise and worship. Because anytime you pass their temple, you hear something, you know, they're chanting their whatever. I didn't care about what it was. I didn't know what it was. But when they finish, they tell you, we have finished here. The rest is left to God.
Wow.
In Britain, where a lot of them don't believe in God, they will tell you, let nature take its course. Because even them, they don't know what else happens afterwards. They've only done their bit.
Yeah.
And whatever takes over is still attributed to God or to nature.
Thank you.
That is why some will fail and some will work.
Thank you.
It's not perfect.
We'll just take this last one. I did 5 to 6 rounds of IVF between 2004 and 2007, including one with a donor sperm. I also did a frozen embryo transfer with donor embryos. Receiving the package of IVF meds in the mail was so exciting. Then we will get to the embryo transfer and the 2 weeks wait to see if it worked. Twice I did and was so thrilling, but both times something was wrong with the embryo and I lost the pregnancy. I wish I had known from the start how happy I would be as an adoptive mom. I adopted my son after my treatment failed, and I now have the almost amazing 8-year-old boy. All I'm trying to say is that people should take a second look at option. Thanks, beautiful mind. Thank you very much for that. Yes, we should. Or what do you think?
Oh yeah, I mean,
we should take a second look at adoption.
I also tell people adoption is another way of waiting. It's a good way of waiting. If you're able to go through the process of adoption, please go through it. It helps to calm down everything about your waiting cycle because a child is already growing. Do you understand? A child is already growing while you're still doing your trials and error. IVF is not 100% sure. And if you know you don't have the money to try, adoption is surer because you know that you're adopting a living human being. For this particular person, there is a likelihood that her egg is the problem. Because what happens is, for some people whose eggs are not so great, usually within the first 3 months, they lose the pregnancy. This is where genetic testing comes in.
Okay.
If she had probably done a genetic testing, they might have been able to find out what the problem was. So most times, that is what we're saying. There are people who you see, like, there are some people who IVF is probably not their own solution. Like people who tend to carry pregnancies to late age and lose it. IVF, is not the solution because that person gets pregnant already, but the person loses, loses the pregnancy. So IVF works for other people who it might be genetically, maybe she doesn't have money anymore, or maybe she feels, no, I don't want to go through this stress. It's traumatizing. The 2 weeks waiting period that you talked about is one of the most difficult periods of anybody's life because you don't know if it's going to work
or not.
Sometimes you even get the false symptoms.
Wow. Of being pregnant.
Oh, yeah. The hot flushes, your mouth, everything. And the next thing you just got, your hope is deflated and you can't do anything about it.
Thank you. Now, this is my last question. Yes, we're coming to the end of this show. What should we all be doing better in the way we relate to people waiting in our families, in our offices, in the churches? How should we be treating them or relate to them?
Encourage them the best way you can. I think the best encouragement you can give to anyone who is waiting is actually financially. Yes, because there is no devourer. There is no devourer. There is no devourer as terrible.
Wow.
I remember back home in Nigeria, I can't remember what happened, and I can't remember what we were saying one time like that, then I didn't have any children and somebody said something and I was like, see, all the money I'm using to than paying doctors. If I'd been using it to pay school fees for my children, do you know what it would be?
Yeah.
See, IVF drains people. You're constantly spending money, and it's like, a cycle in the UK, a cycle costs nothing less than £5,000.
Wow.
In Nigeria, the minimum is 1.5 million naira. I mean, figure it out.
I know.
And you just put all that, and if they tell you it's a fail, it just goes down the drain. So, yes, spiritually, you need support. Waiting families need support spiritually. Pray for them. Encourage them. But don't just say, I'll pray for you, I'll pray for you. If you can in any way, no matter how little, that is the grace I'm asking God to give me. Ibido Ajayi beat me to it, but I respect her.
Wow.
All I just want to do for waiting families is just raise fund for them.
Wow.
That is all, because that is the traumatizing bit.
Okay.
If I calculate the money I've used for IVF, I will probably have at least 2 or 3 buildings sitting.
Wow.
That is how exploitative waiting can be. Apart from IVF, even when they say injectables, you're taking, when they tell you to take injections, the minimum you spend on injectables is 200,000.
Wow.
Do you understand? That is a lot of in naira. I mean, when you convert it to pounds now, I don't know what it is now, but then it was maybe like onwards of like £1,000. That is just injectables, and it might not work. So yes, support them emotionally, in any way. But if you can, financially, if you have a brother or a sister who is going through, infertility, waiting, no matter how little, please support them, because it drains them.
Thank you. Thank you very much, all of you that have stayed, with us this evening. I do really appreciate your time and your love and your support. Thank you, Inkem. Inkem is saying, God bless you, ma. Harmony Drama, thank you very much for joining us. Henry Joseph said, I think we should not make a doctrine out of this. This is a trial, not something sure. Faith comes in after it has been done. Thank you very much. Olakule answered and said, no one is making a doctrine. Thank you very much for that. This is my conclusion on this topic today. As Christians, we must put ourselves in the shoes of those people going through headaches due to the inability to have children. God has given man dominion over everything. Science in itself is a gift from God. Faith is complete confidence and trust in God that we can prove is existent. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. Your faith in God is the key to success in all things, even in IVF. So remember that IVF is just a procedure on its own. It's not a guarantee. It does not fail, but with God, nothing shall be impossible. If considering IVF, you should carefully count the economic, the emotional, and the spiritual cost, and seek treatment that honor the marriage bound. IVF is a controversial issue among Christians, and the Bible does not address it. Therefore, it becomes a matter of conviction from the Holy Spirit. Christian couples who agree to proceed with IVF, this decision must be made in prayer and God's guidance. Beautiful Mind wants you to know that science needs God. The Almighty God does not need science. This is to encourage, the waiting couples. Peter the Apostle in the book of Acts 10:15 had a voice. Do not call anything impure that God has made clean. This is after he refused to an earlier detective based on his own judgment and societal disposition. Be attentive and take instruction when God speaks. If you would gladly accept organ transplant in replacement of problematic organs, either for yourself or for your loved ones, and then condemn IVF treatment, please think again. Have you ever received blood transfusion? What about cancer treatment or even paracetamol for headaches relief? If you have made use of any of these before, then you are not better off. Correct me if I am wrong. Since you're not in their shoes, you cannot feel their pain. Beautiful Mind wants you to love others and think about others first. Let us fight the stigmas together by spreading genuine love of God. Thank you very much, for being part of this show. I do really appreciate it. We can see the baby. This is the product of the IVF. Yes, everything that we've been talking about, this is the baby. Isn't she gorgeous? She's beautiful. She's wonderfully and fearfully made by God. Thank you very much for coming to help us here in the studio today. Thank you very much, Olubisi, for joining us. Thank you very much. I do really appreciate you. I want to say a very special birthday message for somebody that is specially, fearfully, and wonderfully made, and is no other person but Ehino Otaide. Happy birthday if you're watching this. And again, I want to invite you all to this special program. UKCDMA, UK Christian Drama Ministries Association, presents Season of Overflow, the 4th year anniversary, and they're expecting evangelist Mike and Gloria Bamiloye. They will be the guest speaker of the day. Please come to What Harvest Christian Center, Manchester for this, and the time is Friday the 15th of June 2008, 5 p.m. and on Saturday 16th of June 8 a.m. 10 a.m. Please come and you will be blessed. Thank you very much. I do really appreciate it. Olubisi, thank you very much. Mary, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much, Olakunle. You've been there all through the show today. I do really appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody. I really love you all. I always say this: wherever beautiful man cannot get to, we believe you can get there. So please help us share this today on your wall, because I believe strongly it's going to help somebody. It's going to set some people loose. It's going to beautify some people's life. It's going to take some people to the next chapter, the next level of their life. Thank you very much. My producer is saying, no, we need to round up the show now, and that's why I'm so in a rush. Thank you very much. Until next week, when I will be bringing another informative and educative topic your way. I remain your host, Adeyinka Adeomi. Bye for now.